Are we in a personal branding revolution? Well, let's get under the bonnet with Harvey. This guy is Generation Z, he's 20-year-old, he's learned from some of the world's best, traveled the world, studied them, and he's a strategist at 20, a strategist on what? On social media. And in today's session, he's going to pack a punch on everything that matters most, from personal branding to social media to getting results in business. And you're going to learn why these 4 things are the most crucial things that you've got to implement in social media strategy. Number one is having a strategy. Number 2 is having a purpose. Number 3 is consistency. And number 4, the all important key skill set of Generation Z, which is creativity. Enjoy every single minute. I'll see you on the other side. Let's do this. Welcome to the BizX podcast, sharing with you all of the secrets and winning formulas in both business and life, with powerful lessons from guests like Frank Bruno, Nick Jenkins, Brad Sugars, Bianca Westwood, and many, many more. Yet, the sad reality is that over 80% of you aren't subscribed yet. And if that's you, hit the subscribe button now and help us grow this channel so that you can get 1% closer every single week to achieving your dreams in both business and life. Let's do this. Harvey Heggs, let's talk about online presence then today. So Stephen Bartlett went online actually, and he said to all of his staff, they almost build a personal brand. Why did he do that?
Well, I think for people like Stephen Bartlett and businesses that get their employees to create personal brands, a lot of the time it can be like a movement perspective. So imagine if you're a business and you've got all your employees creating content around the same purpose and the same end goal. And I know you talk a lot about, say, Real Madrid having one goal and it's the Champions League. Imagine if your business had one goal on social media and it was to generate leads, for example. All of you creating similar creative content on the same niche and the same topics. As a movement standpoint, how powerful that can be. So, for example, Stephen Bartlett may have Grace Andrews who does a lot, and she talks about, say, the behind the scenes of the podcast and showcases the incredible efforts and the team and what goes behind it. But Stephen Bartlett isn't going to talk about that because he's the front end and he's talking to the guests and all things like that. So having people that showcase different areas and sort of target different areas of the business can be powerful.
Is there a risk to getting all your employees to start developing personal brands?
In what sense?
A risk to the business.
In that it could damage it, or in that you could lose them because they go on to be maybe bigger than the business? Yeah,
both of those. Are they real risks, and the reason why people don't necessarily do this?
Of course it's a risk, but I wouldn't say it's a reason why they don't create content. I think a lot of employees sort of have a fear factor of creating content in the environment. I feel like if you want your employees to create content, you have to lead from the front. So you have to have a leader who takes control of creating the content. I think if you have clear end goals of, we're doing this to generate leads, we're doing this to grow the business on a social perspective, then the positives outweigh the negatives there.
Is creating content the sort of front and center of personal branding what it is?
For me, I think creating personal branding can be different, so many different things. It can be copy, it can be blog posts, it can be PR, it can be short form content. But I always say, so for example, people who post copy on LinkedIn, how can you create a one-on-one connection over a copy? It's like you might be able to tell a cool story, but imagine telling that the same story through emotion and through, you can hear it in someone's voice. That is going to create a much more personal branding connection than copy can ever do.
Yeah, I mean, go back to marketing though. You mean the thing that you put in my mind is the copy is to grab attention. Yeah, a good copy headline, a headline that gets you thinking, that generates interest. And then if you start reading the copy, I'm alluding to Ada. attention, interest, desire, then get them to take action. And keep reading the copy. The emotions change from interest to desire.
Where are people reading these headlines, these copy headlines? Because maybe in a newspaper,
right,
back in sort of the day, as you might say, going at where I've seen them is like the petrol station, and they're in their little box and they've got a big headline. But now, when you're in breaks during your work or when you've got a spare time, what's the first thing you go to? A video platform.
Probably true. And it's a good question. I mean, where are people seeing the headlines now?
Yeah.
Do you think people are seeing the headlines less?
Yes, but the headlines now, the word that's changed for me is a hook. So when you go on social media, it's your hook at the beginning of your video. It's now the new headline.
The hook is the new headline. You heard it here today, folks. The hook is the new headline. So you said there's all different types of personal branding, yeah? Or personal branding. What is personal branding? If we were to define it right now, what would we say it is?
I think from a sort of marketing perspective and business perspective, personal branding is the conversations that are had in rooms when you're not there. So if you have a strong personal brand, it sells for you. So it sells when you're asleep. If you're creating valuable content, if you're creating edutainment, which I like, is entertainment and education in the same sort of sentence. If you're doing all these things and then you can showcase testimonials and case studies around this content. When you're asleep or when you're in rooms, if you're as business and you're looking for a marketing agency, realistically the team's probably going to go to someone they've maybe seen on social media, or because of that effect that it has. So for me, personal branding in that sense is the conversations that it gives people in a room when you're not there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the effect that it has, that resonated a lot in terms of what you said there. And going back to what you originally said was connection. Personal brand is a connection between you and
100%.
An audience, or is it your audience? Is your personal brand your audience?
Essentially, over time, yes. I think when starting out, it's not yours yet. But I think if you look at it as your audience, you kind of, for me, you put a limit on growth. I think if you look at it in a sense of it's the connection you have with your niche or your industry or your that to me has a bigger pool of people than just my audience.
I learned a lot from a fashion influencer named Ksenia, and she's brilliant online, and she's been way ahead of the curve on this as well. So she's got in excess of 13 million followers these days. So that's a lot of followers. And what she said was, through time, she gained loads of followers, and then all of a sudden it stopped. You stopped gaining followers, and I see people like this on Instagram right now as well. So they grow really fast, and then it stops. And she said it's because everybody who's supposed to have seen you has now seen you. And how I really grew is I had to look inwardly, and I had to change. I had to renew myself and stand for something different, slightly different. Just all of a sudden, business terms, maybe there's a different USP or a different angle that she's coming from. So she went through that process of self-renewal, and then it grew again, and then it plateaued, and she had to introspect and change. Is that how the biggest personal brands grow?
If you want to think big and if you want to be the best on social media, you have to be able to innovate and consistently shift your strategy on social media. For example, Mr. Beast, what he does is he'll have a framework of videos that he'll try. It might be last to leave circle wins $10,000, right, for example, and he posts a back-to-back videos of this style. It might be YouTubers or business, or different people that go in this circle, and the videos will be getting 20 million views, 20 million views, 20 million views consistently. Now 9 times out of 10 people here would just run this method dry until they just completely plateau. Whereas Mr. Beast, he'll start putting in other pieces of content, testing, whilst this is performing so well. So whilst it's at its peak, he'll pivot, whereas most people would would run it until it crashes. He pivots at his peak, and I think that's the difference of thinking between the elite on social media and people who are playing at a smaller level.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stood out in what you said there is maybe it's a necessity to adjust strategy as you're going. And, you know, change the plan, not the goal, maybe. Strategy is part of the plan.
If you're getting 1 million views on this style of content, right, we've created this style of content, you're getting back to that 1 million views, would you pivot?
Probably not.
Exactly. So if you're in this position, what I would recommend is keeping at it, but slowly integrating different pieces of content to see if you get the next sort of flame there. And then when that one dies out, you have the next one ready to go, rather than when it starts to plateau, you're then trying to test and find different pieces of content.
I think we're moving into influencer space right now over personal branding space, actually. Is there a difference between influencing and personal branding?
I would say so, yes. What that difference is can be many different factors. For example, like an influencer, their job essentially is to create content for brands or their things that they want to promote, and essentially get people through the door because they have strong personal brand, but in a different sense of what a business owner or someone who's marketing as a business may have. So whereas, let's say, for example, a business owner that's creating content for their business is creating content for different purposes than an influencer. Influencers go for the complete masses, in my opinion, and it's a bit more entertainment based. It's less substance.
Yeah, and a lot of people listening to this will have no intention on ever becoming an influencer. And I'm probably in that camp, actually. I don't see myself as an influencer. I see myself as a business person and someone that is deeply passionate about business coaching. So I see myself as a leader in the business coaching space, that's for sure. And someone that's driving coaching excellence. But I wouldn't necessarily see myself as an influencer.
But I wouldn't there's a difference between, I think this is the difference, is influencer and content creator. Content creators wouldn't class themselves as influencers. So for example, we'll probably touch on it in a minute, but a guy I used to work for, who's one of arguably the biggest business creator on YouTube, wouldn't class himself as an influencer. He has legit businesses, and he's been able to build that off the back of his audiences that he's created through content. He would class himself as a content creator, and that for me is providing value, substance-based frameworks due to past experiences. That's what creating content is about, X thing that you've done. And influencers creating content on topics or trends, or always looking for the next. It's a chasing game.
Yeah, let's just zoom in on one of the things that you said there, framework. I mean, share us a couple of the frameworks that people might use if they're wanting to form any kind of content or personal branding.
I think a framework for what you're asking comes under your strategy. So, for example, if you're creating a framework about going viral within your niche, right? And this is no secret. A lot of people talk about this. It's going onto Instagram and TikTok and going into the search bar and searching for your niche, and then going over to the Reels tab and saving viral.
So how do you search for your niche?
So for example, if your niche is business coaching, I'd go on the search bar and I'd search business coaching. Then I'd go over to the Reels tab, and any video that's got over 100,000 views, I would save it until I've got 50 to 100 videos. And then I'd create a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet, and add all the links to these viral videos within this spreadsheet. I then have a section for the hook of that video. What hook did they use in that video? I then have a section for video length. How long is the video? These things play such a crucial role in your video's performance. Then I'd have the style of video. So is it a reaction video? Is it a Q&A type video? And then what's the quote from the guy? Is it great artists?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Great artists create or copy, and the best artists steal, or something like that. It is quite a common quote. And I
Yeah,
think
tell us in your comments what the actual quote is, folks. So if you're listening to this right now, do post the comment in.
Yes, please do.
Help the algorithm whilst you're there.
And save me. So it's not about reinventing the wheel on social media. So having this framework to consistently have ideas and sort of copy what's working and then putting your own value and spin on this is a framework that I would like to recommend for.
It's beautiful. I mean,
content.
the first aspect of success in terms of what Brad Sugars, he says this: dream, goal, plan, act. So have a dream, and whether it's to build a personal brand or to develop a reputation in a certain area, then turn it into a goal, then get planning. And that's what you just talked about, really, that framework. It's a framework of research.
Yeah. It's
a framework of planning, and that process that you go through will give you a lot of motivation and direction.
100%.
No doubt.
Creative ideas, but them links set in a spreadsheet isn't going to make you generate leads. It's not going to grow
It's making
your brand.
decisions at the end of it and taking
you have to take action after that.
So nothing in anyone's life changes until you take action. When you realise that, it kind of blows your mind, doesn't it? Last one on this personal branding, because we've moved into social media a little bit here as well. So, are we in a personal branding revolution?
Yes, and I don't even think we've scratched the surface of where it's going to be. I think conversations that I've had and seen over the last 6 months especially is that everything's pivoting to personal branding. Like I seen Ben Francis a video yesterday about the owner of Gymshark, and he was making a video on if personal branding is the sort of be all and end all of when you create a business. Can you create a business without having a personal brand going into 2025? And for me, that's a scary question.
Did he ask that question?
He was talking about it.
And what did he say?
He broke it down, and his bottom line was no. But I think the fact that you're even having these conversations is scary, in the sense of like it's happening and you either take action or I think you get left behind.
Let's just go back to where we started. Stephen Bartlett, maybe he's a smart guy. Well, no, he's a smart guy. He said to his team a few years back, everyone, get yourself personal branding. And then you alluded to Real Madrid, everybody being aligned and all doing it for your business. Of course, there might be risks that they might go somewhere else and get really good at it, but there also might be real risk that your business wins from it.
But ask yourself this question, James. If Stephen Bartlett, Grace Andrews is a wizard when it comes to strategy and building the podcast alongside Stephen, if she wanted to create content and Stephen said no or didn't let her or was holding her back on that front, would she have stayed with him, or would she have left and gone and talked about her experiences and set her own stuff up? Or so maybe if you've got high level employees that delivering value or whatever, maybe allowing them to create content actually may keep them to the business rather than them going on and
use it as an advantage. I mean, let's just have a deep dive into your background, Harvey. So you're clearly very young. And
I do look about 12 if I didn't have a beard.
You've got the beard, so you look a little bit older. So you've learned from some of the world's best online digital content creators. Who have you learned from, and what have you learned?
Yeah, so for me, about 16 years old, I decided to just commit to social media. It was just something that I found a passion for. I think I've always had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit, but this is what I kind of attached it to. And I remember watching a video of a guy called Graham Stephan, who he originated in real estate. He made content about credit cards and finance, and I don't know why this interested me so much at a young age, where everyone else my age was probably drinking over the park, but I'm watching videos on finance and business, and sort of that created a connection with this guy, and I was like, right, I want to work for him and I'll do whatever it takes.
How old were you at the time?
16, just turned. So I was like, whatever it takes, I'm going to work for this guy. So I sort of knew that sending him a direct message on Instagram, he's got millions of followers, he's got over 5 million followers on all platforms, and I was like, if I send this guy a message, it's not going to work. So I was like, right, what's a creative way I can do it? So it was on Cameo, which is like a where you can speak to influencers and pay. So
Right.
you paid £4.99 and sent him a message saying, I'd love to work for you. Do you have any work that I can do? And I think he said no at the time, but then kept messaging and stayed persistent, because this was my goal and this was my way into the industry. And he eventually gave me his assistant's contact details. I started working on their Facebook group and their emails and all the boring admin work, and I just stuck at it and did ridiculous hours. Within the space of 2 months, I was flown to Las Vegas with my dad to spend some time with this guy and sort of learn the ropes and continually build his personal brand and work with the team. So that's how I got into the industry, and we'll talk about sort of things that I've learned from that. But that sort of gave me the credibility within the industry. I learnt my craft pretty much better than anyone and faster than a lot of people.
So clearly you were passionate about it before you went into that. So that, I mean, that the thing I got from that is passion and persistence.
Towards your end goal.
Passion and persistence towards your end goal.
If I believe if you truly want something that bad, you will get it.
Persistence, fueled by passion.
Have you watched The Founder, the McDonald's?
Oh yeah, Mr. Kroc, it's cool.
What he says at the end, the one word, persistence.
Ray Kroc, there you go, built an incredible business. If you've watched it as well, you see the turbulence that he goes through in life, don't you? So you've learned from some of the best, and what did you learn from him then? You went over there. What were the key parts that you learned?
Yeah, so I remember going over and in school, for me, like concentrating and really in-depth work was like something that I just never really got on with. But then I remember walking into I got there a bit late and they were about to post a YouTube video, and there was him and his editor and his assistant sat in the room. He said, Harvey, come sit in and come join us. And I'd created a little bit of YouTube videos before this, just sort of messing around, and the thumbnail and the title would be 30 seconds. I'd just slap something together and put it up. No word of a lie, we sat in this room for 3 hours on titles and thumbnails. We would agree on it, and then no, let's change it. And at the time I was like, what is going on here? Like, and sort of the answer to your question, James, is the minor details is so focused on. And I remember linking it. I'm big on football, and Pep Guardiola's the same thing with Man City. Is the minor details. The minor details for them is like the big details for others. Every little thing is completely. The focus on it is incredible.
As soon as you said we did 3 hours on two things, titles and thumbnails, I think the point's made there, isn't it? It's depth of planning and rigor of turning over stones. Come on, let's get this right. That's not right. We want to get this right. So yeah, attention to detail, and of course, give you an example of the two areas that you're focusing on there, which is thumbnails and titles. Anything else that you learned from him?
In a sense of building your personal brand, it's quite hard to put something on that, because obviously he's in a position which.
Why was he so successful?
Because of these minor details. He had an end goal of becoming the best in this space. He would spend 8 hours researching the next day's video. He lives in Las Vegas. He hadn't left Las Vegas in 5 years. His week was 6 days a week. He had a girlfriend, family. He spent 6 days a week, 10 hours a day on becoming the best. Now, I'm not saying this is what it takes to build.
For some people that sounds awful.
Some sort of personal brand, but for me, this has correlation to building personal brands and to be the best at something. The dedication and sacrifice that it takes is on the minor details, and that was the proof in the pudding.
Look, from a coaching perspective, I've had some of the world's best mentors like kind of educate me on this kind of thing, and a lot of people don't like hearing this, and it's documented in a couple of books out there. I think there was some research that was done on New Zealand All Blacks Even James Kerr mentions this in his book Legacy. If you want to be the number one, literally the world's best, the Olympic champion, if you want to be that, the world's best, business or in sport, what you're doing comes first. And what I mean, that comes in front of family. And that puts pretty much most people off, certainly in business. Some athletes have got it, haven't they? They've got it in the mind. They've got it that they want that. They want to play for Man United or Liverpool. Harvey's a Man United fan. Never mind. Plenty of the listeners are too. So good luck. So yeah, if you want to be the world's best, you've got to commit more than anything. So it sounds like that guy did.
Yeah.
So you probably learnt a little bit of that from him as well. Who else have you learnt from?
Yeah, so
there was a business in Dubai that you were head of social media for.
Yeah.
So this was a big real estate business that was fast growing. To get the young gun in to be head of social media.
Yeah. That's just a crazy story, but sorry, just quickly a little bit on who else have I learnt from. So being in rooms with people like this opens up doors that you can't imagine. So for example, being out there, I'm in a room where one of them's speaking to Logan Paul right next to me, and me being me is a little bit cheeky, but also I think it's how I've been able to get where I have. Is I just ask people, excuse me, I'm 16, 17, what advice would you give me to grow on social media? What's the best tip you can give? And I think having that confidence, I've never been told no, especially being young, but I'm learning little tips here and there from so many different people.
Couple of things there. Number one, people are all Googling who Paul Logan is right now. Number two, I don't think it was confidence he had. I think it was courage.
Yeah.
The courage, because everybody kind of wants to be successful, and the opportunities will come up. Whoa, can I go get a photograph with that person? Can I go and speak to them? Can I ask them? And at the end of the day, you need that moment of courage to ask. And I've heard so many stories of people's personal growth and success that follows things like what you've done there. You've walked up to someone, several people, probably more than several, it's probably an understatement, said, look, I'm only young. I want to be successful. What advice can you give me? What do you do with the advice?
For me, I kind of like download the data, and then when the situation comes up, because everyone's advice is so different, and I think sometimes it can be damaging asking too many people's opinion, because you get so many information overload.
I've seen people do that. I've seen people, overkill. It's like too much. It's like,
yeah.
Choose your moment, choose your time,
exactly.
Choose the person.
But for me, these situations are so rare situations for people my age. I'm not going to pass on the opportunity, so I download the data. So, for example, even with social media, bringing it back to that, I'll ask the question, and then a couple of years down the line, starting a business, these situations might come into play, and I remember, that's what they said. So I think it's asking questions, and that's something for social media as well, is being able to have a community of people and learn from other people's mistakes. And if you're starting to create content, go and find 5 or 6 people that's going on the same journey and learn from their mistakes, and share your wins, and you'll speed up the process 6 times.
Let's move into social media strategy. And the key word there being strategy, by the way, not social media. I think everybody is aware, and they do social media. You go back a couple of decades, it was the scariest thing ever for some people. It's not so scary anymore. AI tends to be the scary thing at the moment, which is becoming less scary as well, by the way. So, but social media strategy, I like this analogy. So the circus comes to town, and they need to get people to come and watch. So what do? They produce a flyer, an advert, and they start going out and handing the adverts out, but they decide to take the elephant with them. The elephant from the circus. So they take the elephant as a walk through town. They stick the flyer on the side of the elephant so everybody can see it, and handing flyers out, come along to this, and doing some sales, if you like. But then the elephant breaks loose, and it runs through town, and it gets to the town hall, and outside the town hall is big. It's the town hall gardens, and it gets to the gardens. It tramples all over the flowers. Before you know it, the mayor's out. The local press are there taking photographs. All of this, and the next day, that elephant with all the flowers, it's on the front page of the newspaper. Now, it could be a disaster, that, couldn't it? But if that was all planned at the start, that's what a strategy is. A strategy is having a clear plan of how you're going to market this. And what percentage, in your opinion, of businesses have a social media strategy? And bear in mind, most statistics are made up, so don't
I think it's difficult to put a percentage on it, but looking at businesses from an outside perspective, I would say maybe 8 or 9 out of 10 don't have a social media strategy.
Can you tell if you looked
straight away
within how many seconds?
10 seconds, 5 seconds. It's just a skill.
Within 5 seconds of looking at someone's Instagram, you would be able to see if there's a strategy.
Yes, and one thing that stresses me out a little bit is social media managers, right? And the reason that is because anyone can work social media. Anyone can make a content plan for the month. Anyone can make it look pretty and fancy and send it over to a business owner, and they like to look at graphs and think, wow, this is a lot of work, but it's not. Like I say, anyone understands social media. You don't need a degree to be a social media manager. There's no substance to being a social media manager. Anyone can understand the game. Becoming a social media strategist. So people who understand social media to be a social media strategist normally create content for themselves and have a bigger success than working with other people because they make so much money themselves through personal branding. I see an opportunity where, because of this lack of expertise and lack of people, there's an industry to sort of so much sort of take it. It's an empty space.
So much to go at
because it's an empty space. So for me, if you're a business and you've got a social media manager and they're just sending you pretty reports every month of what we're posting, and it's not where's the end goal and where's the systems and where's your content pillars and where's this document you can go back and look at, all right, this is on track for that. If you don't have that, then you're just throwing money down the drain and you're just doing a job of just putting something out.
So like within 10 seconds you can see if someone's got a strategy or not. But can you see if they've got a clear strategy within 10 seconds, or does it take you longer to decipher that? If you think, oh, there's something here.
I would look at a business page and look at the content they're creating. Every business should have different pillars, right? And a pillar can be your personality, which is how are we going to showcase that we're a fun and creative brand, or how are we going to showcase that we're direct and we don't take any SHIT.
We don't take any crap off.
Are you that sort of brand? Then when you've got your value and delivery, like what are you educating people on? Is it business coaching for small businesses, large businesses? And then you have different pillars for different reasons. So I can go on your grid and straight away look at your content that you're posting. Are you just posting the same stuff? Do you know what I mean? And I can start to look through and say, you're posting this for that reason, this is that, and it looks like it's a strategy now because you're posting consistently.
How hard is it to develop a strategy?
It's not something that you can just put together just like that. For me, it requires many different meetings and strategy sessions, and
probably everyone being aligned. And if you're getting everyone building personal brands, they've got to be connected in some way.
It's a big operation, but once you get it right, look at how powerful it can eventually be. So take the time and have them meetings, and don't overlook it like it's just social media. Like this can be the difference maker in your business succeeding and not succeeding sometimes. Like if you get a viral video with the right lead generation methods, 1 million views with a 0.1% conversion, and then a 10% conversion on them leads, and you're charging $2,000 for a service, that's a huge increase to your business, and they're not even crazy numbers.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's appreciation for, actually, if you look at Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, they're not strategies. Oh, I'm doing Facebook, that's a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
They're channels. And Gary Vee stopped me in my tracks when he said this. He said, from a strategy perspective, the number one strategy in every business right now, and this is really recent he said this, is organic views. Getting people seeing you organically, without paying them, no paid traffic, organic. The ones that master that are the ones that are going to blow up.
How many seconds do you stay on an ad for when you're scrolling on social media?
It's probably, they used to be documented maybe 3, maybe 5, but I don't know if it's going less.
When you're getting sold something, you scroll.
You go past it.
It's sort of a natural.
You don't like it.
It's a natural psychology motion now.
Yeah.
So Gary Vee, arguably, well, it's an opinion, but almost factually, is the biggest guy.
All right. Well, let's who are we going to compare him with? We got Grant Cardone, massive. Yeah. Gary Vee, massive. Alex Hormozi, not Hormone. Alex Hormozi. Again, he's emerged, really, hasn't he, in the last 2 or 3 years. And let's throw one of our own in there. Stephen Bartlett, fantastic, huge footprint. Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, Hormozi, and Stephen Bartlett. Who's the best and why?
What a difficult question. Each of them are so influential in their own ways. If you look at from a real estate perspective, Grant Cardone's the biggest in the industry and is super influential. If you look at Alex Hormozi, from him talking about acquisition.com, his business, and the growth that's received through social media is huge. Stephen Bartlett in the podcast space, arguably the most influential there. But I think as a whole, Gary Vee sort of sits one level above these people. He's been around for so long. He creates such valuable content that helps people build their personal brands, and I guarantee that all of them 3 below watch his videos and did watch his videos to build their personal brands. So
interesting that you say that. I think you probably are aware. Gary Vee is coming to BizX 2025. He's kicking off the event as well. So, I mean, look, all 4 of those are good. We've also had Stephen Bartlett on stage as well, doing the same. So, big fans of all of them. Are there any other areas of social media strategy that the listeners need to be super clear on when it comes to getting results?
I think if you're creating a strategy, and I had to sort of summarize it a little bit. First of all, it's your end goal. What do you want to get from this? Do you want to be the number one brand within your space? Do you want to be the go-to for advice? Do you want to generate as much leads as possible? Because all these different end goals will mean different things. If you want just leads, you're not going to get. You can generate a ton of leads from 1,000 views. If 99% became leads, it's better than getting 1 million views and getting 20 leads off of it. So your end goal matters a lot, and then break it down to different pillars. So is it how you're going to be entertaining, how you're going to educate, how you're going to showcase testimonials in a creative way, and then work backwards to different month bases. So in the next 3 months, what are you going to do which is going to push you towards the next step, the next 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Obviously social media always pivots, but having sort of a guideline can help, and create all this on a document, get your team together, get everyone firing and towards the same end goal.
Yeah, I think bridging the void actually between putting content out and actually starting to generate leads is a challenge for a lot of people. You know, to actually start getting leads. What are the key things that we need to include in either the content or in how we're posting it so that we can start moving into lead generation?
So everyone wants something for free, right? Don't they, James? People love things for free. So sort of what you can use social medias for is your lead magnet to get people into the next chain of the buyer journey.
We've got to remember, though, like what you said a second ago, no one likes to be sold to. They skim past the ad.
Exactly, but people like free things. So if I've just gave you 40 seconds of free value, which is actionable steps that you can take, and then I say, let's say it's on communication within your business to your employees, and I've just given you a framework which you go, wow, I can implement that tomorrow, and I'm going to speak to my team about it. Then I say at the end of this video in a call to action that's, if you want my free communication ebook, which I've put together after 20 years of experience in business, comment the word ebook and I'll send it you for free. Are you going to say no to that? Probably not. I'm going to want more from you. So I'm sending that over. I'm collecting your email through, you can use ManyChat for your automations and your call to actions, and it's just set up through automated messages. Collect the email, bang, now you've got a lead, and then there's different qualification processes.
Yeah, I mean, to move into that data collection point, is that a short-term or medium-term challenge for people? Should they go there straight away or not?
If you're starting from scratch, no, because you have to build a bit of credibility to you up first. Like when people watch a video,
what is credibility though? So how do you know when you've got it?
I like to call it receipts. It's being able to sort of, anyone can talk about, I could go on social media and talk about business coaching, and you could, but if we're both starting from scratch, who's got the credibility there? No one really knows unless we delve a little bit deeper through different channels like Safari and Google.
Frequency of the people, how many times they've seen you, what
exactly.
kind
So
of content you put
that's
out.
why your strategy is so important, because if you're showcasing testimonials and frameworks talking about things that you did for businesses and clients, I can't talk about that, but you can. So getting a backlog of these things put together serves that purpose. So maybe give it, I would like to say, 2 months of posting consistently before you start implementing lead generation tactics.
There's another area I want to touch on, actually, and a little bit sensitive, this one, because you're Generation Z. Is that right? Why do they call it Z and not Z?
Gen Z, I think they call it.
So you're Gen Z. Oh, see, I even got that wrong, yeah? It's Gen Z, not Generation Z, but it's not Gen Z, right? So it's American, clearly. What is it like being a Gen Z?
I've always grew up around older people. Like, I've always spent time around my father and his friends, and that sort of gave me the confidence, I think, I think a lot of Gen Z are some of the most creative people on the planet. I think they sort of have a no craps given attitude sometimes, which in some cases is positive, some cases is negative, but I think they are more creative but less confident. And I think for me, being able to observe both categories, like spending a lot of time with so many older people and then spending a time with younger people and what I am, Gen Z, I can sort of see that sort of difference.
It's quite interesting, that, isn't it? Creative, confidence. You did say, more creative, maybe less confident, yet a few of them have got this. Is it a perception, this? I'm not taking crap from nobody, what you said.
Potentially. I think if you look at the last hundreds of years, has there ever been a generation that is so confident in themselves and what they want to be? And
are you saying the high in confident or low in confident? You just mentioned they were low in confident.
Confidence in terms of speaking to people and
right.
and that sense, but in a sense of themselves, I don't think there's ever been a generation that's as confident in themselves, if that makes sense.
Oh, all right. So we think they're high in confidence
in themselves,
right? Okay,
but low in confidence in communication and maybe a work environment.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, let's just acknowledge the hybrid working conditions, all this kind of thing. There's other things that goes on for Generation Z that they have to deal with, like cost of houses.
Yeah.
It's costs a lot. Renting houses costs a lot. All this kind of thing. And then there's an emergence of people at a younger age getting into business themselves. So what can the older generations, and I'm an older generation, and there's older ones than me, what do we need to learn about Gen Z, and do we need them in our life and our business?
Yeah, so I think straight away what I would say is everyone's different, and this is not speaking for every individual. As a collective, like I say, I think Gen Z through TikTok and Instagram, and Gen Z create content on TikTok, get millions of views through being creative, or they set businesses up and generate millions at such a young age, which has probably never been done for on this scale. I think if you're employing a Gen Z or having a Gen Z in your team, obviously learn the disc profile and who they are and what drives them and what disengages them in conversations. But as a whole, I think we can be some of the most creative people in the team. I think ideas wise, we can have an idea which could transform the business, and I think a lot of Gen Z maybe feel unheard. They don't feel like they have a seat at the table to communicate their
really good point,
their opinions. So I think allowing them that space to communicate to. I know for me personally, like being able to communicate with someone higher up in the business and having that freedom and sort of safe space where I feel like I can do that would bring so much more out of me and potentially deliver so much more to the team.
Yeah, there's a lot packed in what you just said. That whole psychological safety that you feel that, so that you've got that confidence to speak out, which you alluded to a second ago. And, you know, the other thing is creative ideas. They're going to have a lot of them. And
times are changing, aren't they?
Yeah, so need to explore it and have space to do it. I mean, there's more and more businesses that's entertaining the ideas of Friday morning, let's share the ideas type kind of meeting. Got some quick questions to finish up with. What's the biggest mistake that you see on social media?
Consistency. And how long you got?
Not long.
Consistency and patience. Pick your niche, stay consistent, be patient.
Wonderful. So in all of the videos that you've personally created, what's been the most viral and why?
Yeah, I had a phase where I was posting content every day for about 3 months, and I took it seriously. I got 50,000 followers on TikTok, and I was creating content on trends within my niche. I was creating like business content around trending businesses, and I made a video about Prime, which was Logan Paul and KSI's hydration drink, and talking about the back end of the business, and it got 3.7 million views.
3.7 million, pretty cool. And the secrets to getting the 3.7 million?
Trending topic. Someone else made a similar video which got even more views, so I just reframed it to myself and clicked post.
Take action.
Take action.
All right, so what's more important in success in social media? Purpose or creativity?
What a question. I think
choose one.
To build a personal brand from scratch, creativity, to have substance and long-term purpose.
Which wins?
Purpose.
Clear purpose wins. All right, I've not finished yet. What's more important in success in social media, purpose or strategy?
Strategy.
Oh, strategy beats purpose in this case. What's more important in success on social media, strategy or consistency?
Strategy, because you can consistently post on different topics and chase different rabbits, but your strategy, if in your strategy it's about business coaching for small businesses, and you say we're posting every other day or every day, that factors in consistency.
I was playing with you there, Harvey, because they were the four things that really sort of stood out today: purpose, strategy, consistency, and what else did I say there? Purpose, strategy, consistency, and
That was it, wasn't it?
creativity.
Creativity.
Yeah. So they're the 4 things. They're the 4 really important things. So big takeaways for me. Those bits. What's the first thing that people should do following listening to this?
Drop your ego if you're going onto social media. A lot of people have such credible business lives and career lives, but you're entering a brand new game on social media, so no one cares about, hi, this is Harvey and today I'm going to teach you about. No, it's like, what's your hook? Make it about them and deliver value. Short, concise content, and over time when you build that brand, you can start introducing that you like to go for runs and your family content. But drop the ego and just press post.
Drop the ego and press post. And last couple of questions. Best book you've ever read?
Something I need to do more of, but one book that I read that I got recommended from a business perspective, there's Alex Hormozi's lead gen books and $100 million offer, but from a book that's helped me in all aspects is Blue Ocean Strategy, and sort of creating that unique offering, and you can use that in many different cases, whether it's your offering business or your social media strategy.
Interesting. I mean, you've read that book at a young age, Blue Ocean Strategy. Is that why you're a strategist now? Because, I mean, how old are you?
Just turned 20.
20. Is that why you're a strategist? When did you read that?
Oh, about 2 years ago now.
Right, there you go.
I would say so, yeah. I think it's... Yeah.
Blue Ocean Strategy, really good book, yeah. All right, what's been your favourite part of this conversation?
Hopefully educating people on what it takes to sort of build the foundations of your personal brand, and hopefully being a little bit of a voice for Gen Z people in a work environment.
Yeah, I like the Gen Z thing. That was a lot of appreciation that we've got for Gen Z there. That's one of my moments. I mean, I a little bit biased. I love the fact that you singled out Gary Vee, you know, because he's coming to BizX 2025. My favourite bit, though, is purpose, consistency, strategy, and creativity. Absolutely, they are the top 4 principles in your social media.
100%.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James Vincent, and thank you to everyone. Make sure you subscribe.
Thank you for saying that. See you next time.